If you look at my birth certificate, it will probably say colored or Negro. I didn't have any Black history in elementary, middle, or high school, so I had no connection to the African part of my African American name. Going to University of Washington, I was exposed to different information. For instance, I didn't know that people out of Africa were instrumental in some amazing things like science, technology, engineering, art, and math. When I started asking the questions, I didn't know that. The rhetorical question came up, why don't I know this? And so, if I didn't know this about my history, are there others that don't know? And what kind of transformative opportunities or experiences can I create for other Black boys and girls if I was to share with them my journey? So I've been collecting Black Americana, which are artifacts that depict Black people in terms of advertisement. I became a collector of those just as a hobby, but then that grew into an obsession. And before you know it, I started collecting artifacts, which were out of the continent of Africa. I think of the slave shackles. And then it became apparent to me, I have this museum in my home, but no one's gonna see it, and it's not gonna be able to educate. So I came with this bright idea to develop a traveling museum concept. The museum is really about identity development and self-actualization for Black boys and Black girls, but it's also an educational piece for white folks. My museum creates healthy spaces for difficult conversations. People from all walks of life, ages, ethnicities can come to this space and become vulnerable. And then the learning really occurs. The more we're willing to be vulnerable and transparent with each other, we'll find out we have more in common than in difference. Another story, you asked for stories, I'll never forget this. This was in an alternative school. I asked if there was a volunteer to come up and read. Now, I didn't know that this young lady struggled with reading, but because of the space that I created, she was so comfortable with learning, she came up and together we read the storyboard. And I broke down in tears because to me, that's the power of this work. You come to my museums, you don't have to know how to read because I'm a storyteller, because there's visuals and you can touch things. We know that children learn faster and maybe even better when they're able to touch things. And so to see those children engage in an ice cream scoop, a lemon squeeze, a pencil sharpener, a super soaker, and having fun, and then telling them, do you know that somebody looks like me made those things? And their eyes would light up. And I think to me, the most important piece is when the children start to feel empowered. Because see, we were taught that our history starts with slavery. But when I show them the richness of Mother Africa, they now know they no longer have to feed into that lie. And they'll tell me, thank you for making me feel important. You don't need a Martin Luther King. You don't need a Desmond Tutu. What you need is to believe that the world needs to be changing and you have the capacity to do it, and getting started in that direction is the most important thing.